Hey everyone, thanks for joining. It's me, the Oracle of Whimsy, and it is January 13th, 2020, and I've just completed a remote. It is 1 in the morning, and the first target was the White House. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I picked up tonight. This was an interesting remote because I started off with the intent to go in and look at the energy of the White House, and then I expanded the remote beyond the White House after that. But the first thing I did is that when I did the remote and I went to the White House and looked at the perimeter, I went around the perimeter of the White House and just checked the overall energy. The first impression I had when I went in was that the White House was empty, or that it was almost like it had a skeleton crew. What's interesting about the feeling of walking the halls or moving around the White House as a remote viewer was a feeling that everybody was not on the same team. It was not a unifying force. I don't feel when I'm in the target, when I'm in the energy, that it is one administration working together, unified for a common goal. Instead, the feeling right now at the White House is that everything is disjointed, everybody is doing their own thing, and some stuff is just being done automatically. That many positions have not been filled, so a lot of people left, a lot of interns quit. Then it looks like they have a list, so the people that were on the waiting list, those people got called. Then some of those interns left, and so what happens is they started running out of people to call for internships, and it looks like they're stuck with a skeleton crew running much of the White House. And like I said, a lot is going on automatic, but there's no unity. I don't feel that there's leadership, and I don't feel that there's a unified team when I go into the field, when I go into the target. I also feel like the impeachment is sitting like a cloud over the White House, which is interesting because it seems to be all they're talking about: planning, strategizing, and leaving everything else to people who have basically been ignored, and they just run this machine. Everything is on automatic, and instead the president and his people are just talking about the impeachment. Late night hours with lawyers, late night hours with members of Congress, strategizing. After I finished looking at that target, I then found myself pulled to Congress as a whole, and basically what I saw is that a lot of Congress people would be stepping down, and when I asked the targets, why are you stepping down? Why are you leaving Congress? The response was, there's too much partisan bickering. So the feeling in Congress about why so many Republican Congress people are leaving is there is so much animosity being directed at them. There's so much bickering directed at them that they feel that they are literally being driven out of Congress. That this president has created an environment that's so hostile in DC that many Republican Congress people don't even want to stay, they don't even want to run. And this is also being blamed on the Democrats by people like Lindsey Graham. They don't see the cause, they only see the reaction. They're only seeing how the Democrats are behaving, and people like Lindsey Graham are completely blind to any idea that this might be in any way justified. I did tune in briefly to Lindsey Graham tonight, and the feeling I got from him is one that I've received in the past, and that is that he sees his relationship with Trump as practical. It starts off as a practical relationship. I don't feel at this time, when I go into Lindsey Graham's energy, that there's any love there. There's a very sad aspect to Lindsey Graham at this point, because it's as if he feels to some extent that he's completely disillusioned, is that the right word, with DC, with the partisan bickering, and he's also in many ways not a fan of Donald Trump because of his crass ways, what Lindsey Graham calls, he's crass, he's too crass. That's what I hear from Lindsey Graham. So Lindsey Graham dislikes bad manners, we know that. He thinks people should be polite, right? He's has very strong feelings about that. So he tolerates the president for his own agenda, for his own purposes. The other thing I did tonight during the remote was that the last thing I did is I had Donald Trump be the target, and I tried to go into the energy of Donald Trump, and that was interesting because I didn't feel good in my body when I was in the target, and the physical description was I felt hot, I felt dizzy, sweaty, I had digestive upset, which felt almost like constipation or a digestive disturbance. I've had this before when I've made him the target. I've gone in and looked. I have moments of paranoia. I'm wired on adrenaline. I feel like I'm wired on adrenaline, almost like in a war zone, and so I can't sleep. I feel like I'm in over my head. I need to keep all the lights on. I don't want to turn the lights off. I want the lights on. And I find myself being excessively brutal with people. The paranoia had me, when I focused on the emotions and the paranoia, I keep getting pulled. When I look at the investigation, every time I do that, the next thing I know, as the remote viewer, I find myself in London. I find myself in England, in British intelligence. It happens every time I go into this energy. And I found myself in that energy, the energy of the British intelligence, flexing my muscles. Like I felt like I was now starting to aggressively come forward, and that now we will start to see more of a, there was an offensive stance from Putin. We may see some aggressive behavior from NATO and Britain, some things going on under the table that we don't know about that causes, we're going to see a shift in power happening in the next couple of months between NATO and Russia, Syria, Iran. So we're going to see a change in the flexing of the political dynamics a little bit. The last thing, I got to do it. I don't know why. I got a soft spot for Harry. I did close with the royal family. This goes back to a remote viewing we did 2 or 3 months ago where the Queen spoke, and she said that originally she was opposed to Harry and Meghan leaving. I don't know if everyone remembers that remote. You can check it out. But now she sees it's probably for the best. That's interesting because this is where we are 3 months later. And so this must have been what she was talking about, was this decision that the situation is so dangerous for Meghan. They're getting death threats, being chased. fear for the safety of his son, who's multiracial. It's getting to the point where Harry fears for his family's safety, and that's why I think the Queen has made the difficult decision that maybe at least temporarily, not permanently, but she may concede to temporarily allow them to spend time in Canada just until the energy changes, because it is so volatile right now. Anyway, thanks for watching tonight's remote, everybody. And I'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody. Good night.